The next leg of Dune Awakening's story awaits us. A killer is on the loose in Arrakeen, tying up loose ends from the dark past. It's our job to find them. As we approach the Anvil trade post, a familiar chirp echoes across the mountains. Noctua, Xantara's bat, lands on our arm, seemingly wishing to tell us something, though we cannot communicate with it as Noctua's old master once did. As the bat leaves, the Communinet sparks into life with Alara 2X's voice, summoning us to return to Harko. Count Fenring awaits. Meeting with Alara, she's been tasked to send us to Fenring under cover of a blindfold.
Such trust. I promise not to take advantage of it, kitten.
We speak with the Count, shielded by the safety of his mask. Fenring has learned of Xantara's death at our hands, and after we tell him of the Tleilaxu lab beneath Carthag, the Count offers some answers for our service. Years prior, Fenring and his associates had uncovered evidence of Tleilaxu operations in Carthag, but before they could investigate, the city was destroyed in a lasgun explosion. Many put it down to accident, but Fenring thinks it's deliberate, to cover up the profane work of the Tleilax. His previous assassination targets were chosen due to their affiliation with that group. Their nature as Golas was unknown until later, as was our own. As for the nature of ourselves, Fenring muses on refinements.
Indeed. You are a refinement. Your compulsion doesn't drive you to madness as it did the ones who came before you. Fascinatingly, you don't have the appearance of whoever you are originally grown from. Perhaps that is the clue. You must have been someone with a recognizable face. The Bene Tleilax are forced to hide you in plain sight.
Lastly, Fenring delivers his request. There have been a string of murders in Arrakeen, the victims all having been agents for the Count. Believing it Tleilaxu retaliation for the slaying of the Golas, Fenring asks us to travel to Arrakeen and get to the bottom of these murders. We met with Sub-Prefect Tors in the back corners of the Imperial Consulate. The victims of this killer, trained and conditioned as they were, had been caught unaware by something or someone. The killer is precise, but the victims must bear some form of pattern, which will doubtless lead us to the killer themselves.
And make no mistake, if the Bene Tleilaxu are involved, this isn't just a string of murders. It's a purge, carefully planned and devastating. A threat not only to Arrakeen, but to the stability of the entire Imperium.
Tors pointed us to Austin Lath, an engineer in the Seleucid Bull. The last two victims of the killer were associates of Lath, so either he or his assistant Hester Klimt may be able to put us on the right track. We spoke with Ugo Ferenze, doorman of the exotic backrooms in the bar, open only to those with enough coin or clout to their name. It appeared, though, that we were too late.
I regret to inform you that the engineer has suffered the most conclusive of a health setbacks. Let's just say he won't be ordering more drinks anytime soon.
Ugo opened the rooms for us after learning we were operating under Prefect Tors, allowing us to investigate the scene. Lath's corpse was surprisingly peaceful, close examination showing no signs of distress or suffering. A faint foam in the corners of the mouth, the only indication of a potential method of death. In a nearby recording, Lath seems racked by guilt for something in his past.
I didn't press the button, but I knew it was coming. I just didn't want to disappoint the guy who asked. They gave me a new title, a nicer coat, called me Na Familia. But after that, they wouldn't look me in the eye. And the thing I hear over and over, it's not the blast, it's my silence. When I found this pamphlet stuck behind a sink, you dig, you sweat, you die, and your work builds opera houses on worlds you'll never see.
It seems Leith had also gotten his hands on some Sandfly propaganda, the workers' insurgency movement in the Shield Wall. Perhaps they had a role in this murder. Outside, we found Hester Klimt, Austen's peculiar assistant. She is sure the death was absent of foul play. After discussing the matter with the resident souk doctor and procuring a poison snooper from barkeep Chim, we checked the crime scene for signs of a substance, the snooper chirping on the book before Leith's body. We told Hester of the findings, and she finally revealed that Leith had recently met a strange red-headed woman, perhaps a noble, and that meeting had caused him a great deal of distress. She confirmed his political views had been growing more militant, with Sandfly propaganda and books of rebellion becoming a common fixation in his hands. Leith also had a little-known workshop in the eastern shield wall, inside one of the Sandfly bases. We reported back to Tors, who sent us off to the mysterious shop in the shield wall. The Sandfly camp marked by Hester lay just ahead of us, and perhaps a lead on this mysterious killer. We found the hidden workshop deep within the camp. Inside, annotated schematics of old Carthag and a threatening letter from a woman named Phaedra Vi. It seems Leith had spilled his secrets to the wrong person.
We drank, talked, pretended we weren't just ghosts. One night I told her my worst secret, the one I can't say here. She didn't flinch. I asked her what that made me. A man, she said. A man with blood on his hands like the rest of us. You just don't wear gloves.
We returned to Prefect Tors in Arrakeen and told him of our discoveries at the workshop. He knew the name Phaedra Vi. Her reputation seemed to precede her. He asked us to speak with Phaedra here in Arrakeen. Vi's apartment was quiet and empty. Some clues remained, and a voice note in the bedroom told of some sort of party to dress up the corpse of old Carthag. Phaedra laments it as taxidermy, not nostalgia, but welcomes it anyway. Towards the bookcase, just faintly creeping through the walls, distant voices. Footprints too, leading directly to the bookcase. Lastly, a note to a valet asking them to take something north. We returned to Tors to let him know, and he set us on the trail of the valet.
Then I hope your Thopter's gassed and waiting, because you're headed into the deep desert.
Reaching the deep desert, we find a chasmic passage through the mountains and into a buried cave, where the body of the valet is bathed in a crimson glow. Inside the cave, a few Atreides deserters, who quickly fall to the darts and the blade. Squirreled away in the corners of the cave, old artifacts and boxes, alongside a page torn from a manifest. Returning to Tors with the scrap from the manifest, it referenced the last remnants of the riches of old Carthag, and a riddle taken from the valet's corpse left a hint. Picture me in my glorious days before the downfall of a once great city. We discussed it with Tors, who would be attending a banquet with Phaedra later that day. Our task was to return to the apartment and find what the note referenced. Tors suspected a code was involved, perhaps the same code scrawled on Leith's map of Carthag. 10194, the year old Carthag fell. Lifting the portraits in the apartment, we find a date panel. Punching in the numbers from the map of Carthag, something shifts off to the left, revealing a horror within. Phaedra Vi, dead, a knife in the neck. Close examination reveals that to be her only wound, and beside her, a recording of Leith's confession.
They paid me, gave me a new collar, a title I never earned. Carthag fell. You've seen the ash. But I laid the tracks. When the train came, I looked away. The nightmares aren't fire or screams, they're silence. That moment before I could have said no. Now it's inside me. The rot.
We find the rest of the manifest in the hidden nook, alongside a mask containing a small hidden needle, sending the poison snooper into a frenzy. A receipt we picked up earlier points to a black market trader in Arrakeen. Perhaps it's time to follow that lead. Tiji the trader offered little resistance. Phaedra had been trying anything she could to get her hands on as much money as possible, desperate to buy back her ancestral necklace she lost when old Carthag fell, now in the hands of some unknown scavenger. She'd been part of a group who had taken most of their riches from the city before the explosion, a group referenced on the manifest. The name at the top, the Overseer, was Sub-Prefect Tors. He could be the next target. We reached the banquet hall too late. All dead save for one on the precipice. The Arrakeen sheriff met us at the entrance, and after some questions, allowed us in to investigate and match names from the guest list to the dead masked faces inside. To the left of the entrance, Eulalia Hawthorne lay dying, her expiration extended by a toxin modifier. In our questioning, she revealed Sub-Prefect Tors had not made it to the banquet. Furthermore, she would not let us remove her mask, lest her face come with it. Poison in the wine had dulled the senses, and poison in the mask had pierced the skin, latching into the flesh with metal barbs. Attempting to remove it would be more than painful. A woman had given a toast, her proclamation laced with long-withheld venom, seemingly the killer. Eulalia said it was Phaedra, but she was already dead. Someone had given that toast, in Phaedra's voice, and in Phaedra's mask. We investigated and identified some of the dead. The wine had not been poisoned in its cask, but in the glasses. The supplier, Ambrose Lucifera, had been dragged to the banquet room to answer for his role.
What's the charge? Supplying wine to a banquet? A decadent Arrakeen banquet?
Ambrose had a solid alibi, and though he had sourced the wine, he had not been involved in the glassware. Revelling in the drama of it all, he wasn't much help, though he did reveal he'd given a note to the butler for one of the nobles. The butler remembered the note's recipient, Roella, leaning on the frieze at the rear of the room. We found a bloodied handprint there and matched it to the body at the room's entrance. Strangely, she was missing part of her index finger, something we found in the pocket of another attendee. Reporting back to the sheriff with some of the final identities, Sub-Prefect Tors arrived, still alive. He'd been delayed, thankfully, yet the killer was certainly still targeting him. Sharing our information, we had it all. Means, motive, opportunity. The killer, whoever it was, had been picking off the survivors of old Carthag one by one. Tors was certainly the next target, the perfect opportunity to lay a trap and catch our elusive assassin. To do that, we headed to Tors' office.
There's nothing here. The killer saw us coming. Now the trail is cold, and we're going to have to report our failure to Count Fenring. You've been an adequate assistant. I'll put it all in my report. You can leave now and report back to whoever it is you report to. In spite of everything, the Master still wants you alive. To fulfill your mission, find the Fremen, wake the sleeper. I still recognize you, even with this face, even with this flesh. You move like you always did. Smile like you always did. Don't follow me.
I have a mission of my own, and if you get in my way, I'll put you down. We can always grow you again, after all.